I think back to 2007 when we completed the terrestrial Great Bear Rainforest plans, and we had such international acclaim that we were really riding high. And we got back to the communities, and the elders were not quite as overjoyed as we were. And finally, one of the elders pulled me aside and says, you guys should quit patting yourself on the back, because the planning's not complete until you do the marine component. The terrestrial part of our territory means nothing without the marine component being protected and managed properly. And that's when it really dawned upon us that we had really just had the tip of the iceberg.
Something extraordinary is happening in the Great Bear Sea. First Nations in the province of British Columbia are working together in a collaborative, inclusive decision-making process that is guiding practical ecosystem-based management of our oceans and coasts. This unique model of governance respects and contributes to the process of reconciliation between First Nations and the province of British Columbia. It is known as MaPP, the Marine Plan Partnership for the North Pacific Coast. Communities are already seeing the benefits, with more to come as MaPP embarks on the next stage of the journey.
The MaPP platform, it is really a true partnership, and we are seeing the development of true governance relationships. And we are seeing co-management regimes. And that's been one of the biggest benefits for our community.
Ecosystem-based management has become such a driver towards reconciliation, and the fact that governments can sit down and implement a plan they've jointly developed is really crucial to a foundation of reconciliation at the end of the day. Governments are going to change on all sides of the table. But as long as we have a strong foundation with a structured framework for communication, reconciliation will get a lot closer.
We've had really good people on the provincial side, also among the First Nations. It's a really collaborative process where First Nations throughout the northern BC have worked together, and we found ways of coming up with innovative solutions.
The MaPP plans are rooted in local knowledge of how people are connected to ecosystems. Drawing on traditional knowledge and the best available science, the MaPP initiative aims to protect the cultural and ecological richness of the North Pacific coast, foster sustainable use of marine resources, and support healthy communities today and for future generations.
Being able to look at our territory and look at it from not just a cultural perspective, but also looking at the biological and ecological impacts and how we need to manage different habitats and different species, and looking at different creative ways of allowing for industry, but also ensuring that things are done in a really responsible way has been really beneficial to the community.
Implementation of the MaPP Marine Plan supports ecosystem-based management of coastal waters. Combined with increased monitoring, it promotes ecosystem health as well as local employment and economic development.
It's been really exciting to see MaPP at a ground level and how we're actually able to now start making a difference and carry out these plans. So Celtic Nation has been able to employ 2 additional guardians through MaPP. Those guardians are tasked with a variety of things. They're gathering data and they're monitoring the environment, tenures, and cultural sites. A specific example of their work is around monitoring the spread of the invasive species, the European green crab. Green crab is a threat to Dungeness crab, clams, and other shellfish populations. It's helpful to have the additional presence on the water to better track and mitigate that threat.
One of the most important coastal ecosystems in British Columbia, as well as the North Pacific, are kelp forests. They support an array of biodiversity, as well as a number of economically and culturally important species. For example, kelp forests support herring spawn, which is a particularly important species for commercial harvest, as well as for traditional use. Kelp forests provide a number of other coastal services. For example, drawdown of carbon from the atmosphere or buffering shorelines from storms. Together with our partners in the First Nations and our Guardian program, we've developed a kelp forest monitoring program to be implemented across the coast. The idea is that this monitoring program will inform a number of resource management decisions. For example, nearshore development, protected area planning, climate change adaptation, as well as licensing for aquatic plant harvest.
So every 2 months when we come out to sample the shellfish, we download the loggers onto a computer, and then we have profiles of the temperature and salinity for an annual basis at each site.
After years of study and analysis, we're starting to really see the benefits from sustainable shellfish aquaculture. We've learned through years of watching the industry how to meaningfully engage it, and we're now just starting to see those results in job opportunity, in the creation of economic wealth, and all of that just leads to strengthening the economy of the coast and First Nations communities.
MaPP spatial plans inform decisions about marine activities. In doing so, they help to streamline government processes and provide clarity and certainty for marine users. This helps to reduce conflict on the water and avoid costly time in the courts.
A lot of the benefits are being translated into a shared understanding of how we want to use the same space together, which is a pretty big deal when you think about it. The plans were formulated with a 20-year vision, and we even went so far as developing particular recommendations on uses and activities in the marine space that really helps people understand what and where people will be using that marine space for. And from that perspective, it has really created a bunch of efficiencies in terms of how the province and the First Nations look at applications for the use of space, how we process those applications, and also how it might break down the barriers in terms of how we want to use those space for particular economic development opportunities. So that's been a pretty massive achievement and a testament to the partnership itself.
The MaPP initiative is informing other planning processes locally, nationally, and globally.
MaPP developed an incredible amount of data, analyses, and different products that can be used for other marine planning processes. So we're using those products as a springboard into geographic response planning, marine protected area network planning, and taking the values, the data, and the spatial layers forward into other planning processes with other governments.
We have been attending a variety of different conferences, forums worldwide to inform other jurisdictions on how we develop the plans and how we plan on implementing them. And so that's been a huge benefit to other jurisdictions that are just starting to embark on marine spatial planning in their jurisdictions, and that they can learn from some of maybe the mistakes we made, but also some of the things that really helped us move through the process relatively quickly.
With completion of the first phase of implementation, MaPP is poised to build on this solid partnership in Phase 2, with the goal of moving towards continued collaborative governance for marine management and the coexistence of healthy ecosystems and prosperous coastal communities.
Previous plan processes have really been more of a top-down approach. A plan has been created by the government and then sent out for consultation to stakeholders and First Nations. This plan started from the other direction. They co-led the process with First Nations governments and brought us as stakeholders in right from the beginning. So we've collectively created a plan that's got more stakeholder buy-in, more legitimacy, and it's going to be more successful in the long term.
I've been around long enough to know that this is a program that has had real benefits, and we know that it's not going to go away because of a change of government or something like that. And that gives us the stability and the confidence to move forward with our provincial partners in a very, very positive fashion.
MaPP is really going to be key going into the future because it's going to keep things moving. It's going to keep the discussion progressing, and that's the only way we're going to get there at the end of the day.